It's time for the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc. In an era of chaos, confusion, and craziness, Ferenc is a voice for common sense. As a financial literacy educator, speaker, and entrepreneur, Ferenc cuts through the noise to help us understand how current events affect our money, economy, and our freedom. Now, here's Ferenc.
Welcome to the Your Personal Bank Show. This is Ferenc. If you want to reach me, you can do so at yourpersonalbank.com. Yes, you will reach me. It's yourpersonalbank.com. We're getting into the holiday season, and I usually like to share some lighter things during this time, but I don't think I am ready to do that yet. And part of the reason is because of you folks that have been reaching out to me, asking questions, what's going on with the markets, the economy, a lot of questions about fixed assets, fixed index products. I've been discussing that quite a bit lately. And I had a meeting, in fact, today that was very illuminating. I think it'll be extremely helpful for anyone who's looking to grow their money and grow it safely with unlimited upside potential, literally, with no downside risk. Once your gains are locked in, they become the new principal, so you cannot lose them in the future. Also, you can lock in your gains at any time. These index products, it's the best time in over 40 years, literally. That's why we call it the golden age of fixed assets. I'm going to share some thoughts from this client meeting I had literally today that I think most people will find very helpful. This listener, he reached out to me after listening to the show, had some questions about the index products, and this is something I find very common. He had an annuity product for the past 9 years. I won't say the name of the company to embarrass them, but the reality is his return on his annuity, index annuity, for the past 9 years had averaged 2.2%. Now, here's the sad part. I run into this quite often, where people have purchased annuities thinking they were going to get quite a bit more upside gain, obviously without the downside market risk, yet when they look at it a few years down the road, the results have been very pathetic. I'm going to share with you the reasons why most of these products, these index products, have had such pathetic returns, yet some of them have not, and what the difference is. It's the old 80-20 rule. Probably 80% of the products out there have very subpar results, and about 20% have had tremendous results. Why? What's the difference? Well, the analogy I use that I think is really starting to take hold and folks understand is you have to think about a horse race. If you want to win a horse race, you have to have two things, a fast horse and a good jockey or a good rider. And when it comes to index products, whether it's annuity or IUL, Index Universal Life, first thing you have to do is have a good index, a fast horse. You have to pick an index that has had a history of getting good, strong returns. Some of the most successful ones are things like the S&P 500, NASDAQ. If you have an index that has had poor results, low single digits, what are the odds of, say, over the past decade, what are the odds that it's going to suddenly start producing tremendous or far greater results in the future? Those odds are quite low, frankly. And if the agent or advisor does not have the 1, 5, 10-year results, actual results of these various different indexes that are available, and folks, there's over 600 of them, by the way. If they don't have access to this information, they're really flying blind or flying in the dark and don't really know what these indexes are going to do. I was in the same boat myself earlier in my career when I did not have access to this proprietary software that gave me the 1, 5, and 10-year actual results of these indexes. Certainly, I can make educated guesses of what indexes would perform better than others, but again, you're flying in the dark. It's much like if you were going to purchase a mutual fund and you failed to look at a Morningstar report that shows you the results of what these mutual funds have produced. I don't think anyone would recommend purchasing a mutual fund without doing a little due diligence or do a little research, because if you have, and there's many mutual funds who have had very, very poor results. If they've had poor results in the past, what makes you think they're going to have good results in the future? There would have to be some material change, a change in management, maybe a shift in the economy or what they're investing in, something like that. Otherwise, frankly, if you're looking at an index, let's say that's never made more than 3, 4, 5% average return over the last decade, what makes you think it's going to do better in the future if nothing changes? You see my point. And there's so many of these indexes where I look at people's products that they've had these annuities for a year, 5, even 10 years, sometimes longer, where they're invested in these indexes that have never, ever performed more than 3, 4, 5% average return over a decade. And they wonder why their results are so low or so poor. You're plodding on with a slow horse. You're never going to win the horse race with a really slow horse, are you? So first and foremost, you have to have a good index to invest in. And by the way, most companies, annuity companies, offer somewhere between around 6 to 20 different indexes that you can choose to invest in. And even with the better companies that offer some of the better index options, in every one I've ever seen at least, some of the options are really pathetic in terms of returns, have a history of not getting very good returns. So you could have the right company, you could have a good product, choose bad indexes, a bunch of slow horses, in other words, and never win the race and never get any decent results. And like this gentleman I met with today, average return of 2.2% over 9 years. I'm sorry, folks, but that's pathetic. Now, granted, he has the downside market risk protection, as all fixed index annuities do. Every company, every product guarantees the downside. So there's no difference in products in that regard. But what you want is something that's going to maximize your upside potential, obviously. So if you contact me at yourpersonalbank.com and you want to share with me what indexes you've been invested in, I can help you determine whether they're a good index or not. And by the way, this gentleman I met with today, some of his money was invested in the S&P 500, and it even showed on his statement where the index the past year had actually returned 32%. That's a phenomenal return in 1 year. That's a phenomenal index. He's clearly on a fast horse. And you would expect to get a significant return off of that. Here's the problem. It's the second piece of it that's just as important as the first piece. To win a horse race, you have to have a fast horse, but you also have to have a good jockey or a good rider. You could have a great horse, a terrible rider, and lose the race. And that's what happened with this gentleman. He had an index product with a cap. There's 3 pieces to the rider or in the index strategy that can cause you to either maximize returns or have really pathetic returns. Those 3 moving parts are caps, fees, and rates. And it's not that one is better than the other. It's a combination of the 3 that allows you to maximize returns, to see double-digit returns, literally, strong double-digit returns in good market years, versus really poor or pathetic returns. So using this gentleman's example, he was in a great index, a fast horse, the S&P 500. This past year, that index went up 32%. That's a tremendous return in one year. Yet, he was in a product that had a cap of 2.8, which means his annual cap, the maximum he could earn in a year in that index, was 2.8%. So even though the index went up 32, he only got 2.8% of it. Well, folks, that's terrible. That's pathetic. Now, I showed him alternative products, for example, that had no cap. They had 100% participation, which means whatever the index does, you get 100% of that. I showed him an alternative product that, for example, had no cap. That's tremendous. That means unlimited upside. It had a 1.25% fee and a 97% participation rate. What does that mean? It means no cap, unlimited upside. Whatever the index did, in his case, at 32%, he could have gotten that. The 97% participation, you got 97% of that 32% return, which comes out to about 31. Minus the 1% fee, his return would have been 30% on that index last year. So while he had a product where he had the right index, he was in a good index, and S&P 500 is one of my favorite, consistently for decades, tremendous solid returns in most years, with no downside risk on the bad years. See, that's the problem investing directly in the market. You can get the upside, but you also can get the bad downside. With an index product, you can grab the upside, or almost all of it, 97% in this case, with no downside risk. That's tremendous, and just a 1.25% fee in that case. So the difference of returns, the product he had versus the one I recommended to him, he got 2.8% last year, and he would have got 30%. Folks, that's a tenfold increase in returns. This is no small difference. So having the right index, the right horse, the fast horse that can run and get you returns, while at the same time having the right rider, the combination of caps, fees, and rates to give you the most upside potential is powerful. By the way, we have indexes like NASDAQ that have averaged 17% over the past decade, average annual return. And I've got products that have no caps, unlimited upside, either no or low fee, maybe 1%, and 100% participation or close to it. So if the index is average 17%, you'd probably be picking up about 16 of it when it was all said and done, if you have the right rider. By the way, that compares very, very favorably with most ETFs, mutual funds, managed monies. About 1% annual fee is pretty normal out there in the financial world. So you're very competitive. We're very competitive with these indexes to anything like that's existing. Big caveats is, again, no downside market risk. So when the index has a negative year, the S&P goes down or the NASDAQ goes down, for example, and we have others. Again, there's over 600 indexes available. I can show you which ones have performed and which ones have not. We have that proprietary information. This is powerful. It's game-changing, really, folks. Truly game-changing. Any of the indexes we choose, any of the products with the index products provide that principal guarantee, which means the down years you do not participate. You keep all your money. And then when the market recovers, you move up from a higher amount. So you're ahead of the ball game. You have more money in your account. Lastly, what a lot of people don't realize is once the gains are locked in, you keep them. They become the new principal. So you never go backwards. So if this client had invested in the product I had recommended, he would have received about a 30% return on his index returns this past year rather than 2.8. And then if the market corrected or crashed even or whatever in the future, that 30% return he would have received, he would have capped. That's the difference of an index product versus just investing directly in the market. And the last piece of all this, and this is, I'm sharing all this, these are actual numbers that I dealt with literally today. These are also including with a product where it pays an upfront signing bonus, in his case, 27%. So he had a penalty to get out of his old product, which was giving him very, very poor returns. He had a sizable penalty to get out. It was 12%. But the new product is going to pay him 27% bonus. So he'll literally be ahead of the ball game by a long shot right out the gate. It's a signing bonus. And then his upside potential gains, if using last year as an example, would have been 10 times more. Now, I'm not saying the S&P is going to go up 32% every year. Even if the S&P only went up 5 or 6%, he would have seen a doubling return versus the existing product he has. He would double his return with literally a 5 or 6% upside S&P, which is on the conservative side, obviously. So this is what I'm pointing out when I share with people that when I'm looking at existing annuity products and we're comparing them to what's available, and the new products are so much better also, that's the other part of it. Golden age of fixed assets, best time in over 40 years. When I say I'm helping people gain 2, 3, 4-fold increased returns on their monies, I'm being conservative. This gentleman would have been 10-fold increase, literally, from what he had to what he's going to have, and a signing bonus up front because he had a penalty to get out of his old one. If he didn't have a penalty, I could have shown him even better upside potential products. Because understand, if the company's going to give you a signing bonus, they're going to limit the upside somewhat to you. That's why they're only giving him 97% instead of more than that and charging him the 1.25% fee. they're giving them a 27% signing bonus up front. I mean, come on, that's pretty powerful. But if you don't need that to overcome a penalty, I can show even better upside options, just so you know. Stay tuned in the next segment because he was also looking at turning the monies he had into a guaranteed lifetime income, and I was able to show him better options there also. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned for more common sense from Ferenc. For more information, contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422.
This is Ferenc, host of the Your Personal Bank Show. Your Personal Bank is a financial concept that allows you to grow your money insured with guarantees, income tax-free, and highly liquid. Also, you have the potential to continue to earn interest on money you invest in other assets, purchase items, or pay expenses. How can you do this? First, invest in a high cash value policy to earn dividends. If you leave money in the policy, it'll grow like any investment, insured with guarantees and tax-free. Second, we establish a bank line of credit using the cash in the policy as collateral. When you access funds, you receive them from the bank. Typically, dividends earned are higher than the interest charged by the bank. You keep the difference. This is known as positive arbitrage. If you want to earn interest on money you spent or invest elsewhere, contact me at yourpersonalbank.com or 866-268-4422 for more info. That's yourpersonalbank.com.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc Toth. Want more information? Contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Now back to the show with Ferenc Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. This is Ferenc. If you want to reach me, you can do so at yourpersonalbank.com. Yes, you will reach me. It's yourpersonalbank.com. I hope everybody is having a wonderful holiday season. I'm going to wish you, hopefully one of the first people to wish you a Merry Christmas. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. This is one of my favorite times of the year, and I tend to be more philosophical maybe. I love everything about the holiday season. I've been a musician my whole life. I played trombone, junior high, high school, played in the military, professionally for a while, through college, helped pay for college. I still do it for fun. So this is the time of year, especially as a trombonist, Christmas songs, hymns, and things like that, brass quintets. There's some of the favorite things I enjoy doing around the holiday times and Christmas and all that. So it's something I truly enjoy, and I wish you the best in this holiday season. And normally I'm more philosophical. So much is going on right now. I think I need to stick with this. It's because so many people are reaching out to me. The markets are showing some volatility, which is no surprise. This is something we've been discussing on the show for quite a while. The run-up in the markets was with the AI hype was so significant. Is this the beginning of a downturn? Who knows? We'll know eventually. Are things going to go sideways for a while? If you had to ask my opinion, I've shared this before. A lot of volatility means we're going to have a lot of ups and downs and head fakes, and it could be somewhat stomach churning, if you know what I'm trying to say. And so a lot of people are looking at this, they're concerned. I've been sharing a lot about this is the golden era of fixed assets. It's literally the best time in over 40 years to look at index products. There's been a lot of interest. I mean, there always is some interest in it, don't get me wrong, but it has definitely increased. And I am having people reach out to me who are, would never in the last decade even would consider like an index annuity or IUL, index universal life type product. I mean, they're true, sometimes what I refer as stock jockeys, if you know what I'm trying to say. I don't mean in a derogatory way. It's just they're really focused on the stock market. Literally reaching out to me because they see the writing on the wall. They're real concerned, genuinely so, looking for alternatives. Wouldn't mind locking in their gains. Maybe they've gotten some tremendous gains in the last number of years and would like to see it continue to go up if possible, but not lose to the downside if we are this is the beginning of a big correction. So index products are particularly popular. There's a lot of liquidity depending on what we do. If it's an index universal life, you can also do index annuities. But also there's a large segment of folks who have done annuities, particularly index annuities, in the past 2, 5, 10 years or so, who have seen very poor or pathetic returns, I would call them. Gentleman I met with today, as I was sharing earlier, past 9 years, average return 2.2%. Folks, that's not uncommon for me to see people have those kinds of really low returns on index products. And what I'm trying to do is educate folks and help them understand the reasons why. Because on the other side of the coin, I have clients, myself, who've been averaging strong double-digit returns annually on their index annuity products, for example, or IULs, over the past decade. Why? What's the difference? And by the way, sometimes it's even with the same companies and even with the same products sometimes. So how in the world can one person have an index annuity or index universal life product, maybe with same company, same product even, and another have the same thing, yet have dramatically different results? And I'm talking about 2, 4, 5-fold difference, folks. Well, the answer is it all has to do with understanding indexes, index strategies, both the horse and the rider. What I mean by that is to win a horse race, you got to have a fast horse and a good rider. And think of the index as the horse. You've got to have an index that produces, that gets good, solid results. We all know this. 80% of mutual funds or investment tools, managed monies, do not beat the S&P 500 on average, which means the S&P 500 is a great measuring stick. Even Warren Buffett has shared, look, if you want to be a passive investor, just put your money in the S&P 500. The downside is, of course, it goes up most years, but some years it goes down, and it can be somewhat volatile, especially in a period of time right now where we've seen tremendous run-ups. So you, with an index product, you can invest in the S&P 500, get most, if not all, of the upside potential gains in strong years, like this past couple years, where we saw 20% plus returns. Many of my clients have seen that in their index annuities, 20% plus returns on their indexes. But if you don't have a good rider on that horse, you can also fail to win the race. Again, you have to have a fast horse, a good index, strong returns, and you have to have a good rider, and that's the caps, fees, and rates that different companies apply to these different indexes. Some of them really curtail the results, and some of them boost it. It just depends on how it's set up. And as I shared earlier, this gentleman who I met with today had an S&P 500 index in his annuity that actual return last year was 32%. It was on his statement. Yet he had a cap of 2.8%, annual cap, which meant his maximum upside gain that year was 2.8%, which is what he got credited. Yet at the same time, I had products, and I showed him, that allowed for 97% of the upside gain, no cap, so therefore unlimited upside, on only a 1.25% fee, which means he would have got a 30% return last year on an index that went up 32%. So he gained almost all of the upside, and if the market corrects, the S&P drops the next year, he's locked that in and would keep that gain. That's the advantage of index products or index annuities, index universal life. So you have to have a good horse, you have to have a good rider, and it's the combination of the two. Oh, by the way, in his case, we're also looking at a 27% bonus on top to switch because he had a 12% penalty to get out. So he's of his old product. So he's way ahead of the ball game. And now we're putting him in a product that if the index did the same thing next year, his return would be 10-fold greater. I mean, that's massive. And that's the difference I'm making for people. So if you're looking to maximize your upside gains, your upside potential, while at the same time eliminating any downside risk, and once the gains are locked in, you get to keep them. Doesn't matter what the market does after that or the index does in the future. And you can also lock those gains in at any time. You have options where you can choose to do that. You should contact me at yourpersonalbank.com. I can dramatically change your results with your index products, index annuities, index universal life. And in most, if not just about every case, if you have a penalty to get out, we can not only overcome that penalty, but actually have you ahead of the ball game, sometimes significantly ahead of the ball game, just from the signing bonus, and then enabling you to earn 2-fold, 4-fold, 5-fold. In fact, this gentleman's 10-fold potential upside gains more than what you've been receiving. That's the difference. Stay tuned in the next segment. I got a few more thoughts on these index products and questions that I get asked often, and then we'll get into some current events, because there's still a little, even though we're in the holiday season, there's still a little bit going on, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned for more common sense from Ferenc. For more information, contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422.
This is Ferenc, host of the Your Personal Bank Show. My show focuses on creating tax-free buckets of money, insured, guaranteed, highly liquid, and the ability to create positive arbitrage. Did you know this is the best time in over 40 years to invest in index annuities? An index annuity allows you to 1. Grow your money safely without market risk. Once gains are locked in, they're guaranteed against future market loss. 2. Double-digit potential upside on good market years with no losses in bad years. Principal is guaranteed. 3. A 7 to 8% fixed interest option is available in the first year. If you're interested in growing your money with potential index-related gains without downside market risk, this is the best time in over 40 years to consider an annuity. If your annuity is over 2 years old, the newer products likely have far superior potential returns. Please contact me at yourpersonalbank.com or 866-268-4422 for more info. That's yourpersonalbank.com.
Concerned about market risk? I'm Ferenc Toth, host of the Your Personal Bank Show. The S&P 500 valuations are higher than at any time ever recorded in stock market history. This includes 1929 and 1999. We all know what happened afterwards. It wasn't pretty. Elevated valuations increase risk to the downside. Annuities and Your Personal Bank offer unlimited upside with no downside market risk. Your principal is guaranteed. Contact Ferenc at yourpersonalbank.com to maximize returns, reduce market risk, increase liquidity, and reduce taxes.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc Toth. Want more information? Contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Now back to the show with Ferenc Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. This is Ferenc. If you want to reach me, you can do so at yourpersonalbank.com. Yes, you will reach me. It's yourpersonalbank.com. So in the first two segments, I was sharing a lot about index products, how much more powerful they are. A recent meeting I had literally today where I was able to help a gentleman not only move his account from a previous annuity, offset the penalty, increase the amount of money he had right away, and his upside potential. If he had been invested in the new product, his return would have literally been 10 times or tenfold higher than what he was actually receiving. Now, that's a more dramatic example than normal. Most of the time, I'm able to help people increase their potential upside by 2, 3, 4-fold, 2, 3, 4 times. But other times, it can be significantly more than that. One of the stories that I shared a month or so ago was couple who are clients of mine. The wife actually purchased an index annuity. We started working together a little over a year ago. A couple months ago, we did her annual review. Her return for the year was 18.5%. By the way, folks, for most of my clients, that's normal. Most of my clients with these index products are getting anywhere from about 16 to 22% is the norm. So if you're not seeing those types of returns in this past year with your index annuity or your index universal life, you're in the wrong product, or you're in the wrong indexes, or you have the wrong rider combination, caps, rates, fees, as I've shared earlier. If you don't follow what I just said, go back to yourpersonalbank.com, listen to this first half of this show. You can listen to this or any of the previously recorded shows on the Your Personal Bank app or Your Personal Bank website. And I share in detail how to understand why your returns may be significantly less than what I'm referring to. Folks, I'm going to just say this straight up. If you didn't get double-digit returns in your fixed index annuity this past year or your index universal life, strong double-digit returns, you've got the wrong company, product, index, or strategy structure. And I can improve those things for you, oftentimes dramatically, significantly, 2, 3, 4-fold increase on returns, sometimes as much as even 10-fold, like the gentleman I met with today. And look, if you have a penalty to get out, We have products that will pay you in an index annuity up to 27% signing bonus. That'll offset a lot of penalties. And the gentleman I just dealt with today, he had a 12% penalty. Well, even after the penalty, he's still up 15% right at the gate as a signing bonus. His account value increases by 15% even after the penalty. So he's now earning on that much more money. And his upside potential is literally, if he had invested last year, he would have got 30% on that S&P 500 index strategy rather than 2.8. Well, that's a tenfold increase, isn't it? That's the difference I'm making for people. So again, I'll say, if you didn't get a strong double-digit return, you're looking at a statement in the anytime this year to date, in 2025, look at your statement. If you didn't get double digits, something's wrong. You're not in the right place. And most of the time, folks are either in the wrong index or the wrong structure or strategy of that index. And the only way to determine that is having the index performance reports, which are proprietary software I have access to. Very few advisors or agents have access to this. But I can show you what the 1, 5, 10-year results were on hundreds of indexes. I mean, literally, there's 600 indexes available. And how do you know what yours has done or what it's likely to do? I mean, realistically, if you're in an index that in the past 10 years, its average is 3, 4, 5%. And folks, most of them are that way. It's about 80. I'm going to tell you this. About 80% of the indexes that are available with index annuities or index universal life have low single-digit, 10-year plus average annual returns. That's just a fact. Most of the results on them are pretty pathetic. And that's sort of where the bad reputation kind of comes from sometimes, is because they provide poor returns. It's because you're in the wrong index. You're in the wrong horse. You're trying to win a horse race against thoroughbreds, and you're in a plow horse. It just ain't going to happen. You're not going to get that much result no matter what you do. So you got to get in the right indexes that perform, actually give results, and have done so consistently and likely are going to in the future. Again, if you're in an index, its average annual return is 3, 4, 5% over the past 10 years. What's the likelihood of it doing much more than that in the next 10? Pretty low. In fact, this gentleman I met with today, again, he had 2.8% in one of his indexes, and he had the rest of the money invested in a second index. You know what his average annual return was over the past decade? Just over 1%. It was horrible. It was a horrible choice. Now, his agent agreed it was bad, but had no idea what that index was going to do because, frankly, he probably didn't have access to any performance reports. This is proprietary software, folks. Less than 1% of agents' advisors have access to this. This is truly game-changing. So I'll say it one more time, and then we'll change gears. If you have an index annuity product or an index universal product, and your annual statement for this past year, 2025, anytime you looked at it, and it's less than double digits, you are in the wrong product or index or structure. And we can change that, we can fix that, we can improve that, and most times we can do so dramatically. And we can offset penalties to get you in a better position. Again, it's knowing which indexes, which horses to run, which riders to put that are going to give you the best upside potential. Having the performance reports to know which ones to choose and which ones to avoid, and also the improvement of the products in general, being the golden age of fixed assets, the best numbers we've seen in literally over 40 years. So don't let this opportunity bypass you, and don't just keep being satisfied or feel like you're stuck with pathetic results, frankly, or less than stellar results if we want to be nicer about it. Contact me at yourpersonalbank.com. Be happy to help you with that. And it won't take very long to figure it out, by the way. You'll see what I mean. As I stated earlier in the show today, it is the holiday season. Things tend to slow down news-wise, but there are some things going on that I think are worth paying attention to with the economy, with the markets. And one of those things is, I thought it was interesting in the past earnings call, the CEO of Nvidia, Jensen Huang, stated, the whole world would have fallen apart if Nvidia had missed its earnings expectations. And the sad part, and the concerning, scary part, frankly, is I agree with him. It's probably true. But you have to ask yourself a simple question. Is it a good thing to have the entire world economy, but certainly the U.S. economy, dependent on one company? As Jensen Huang stated, the CEO of Nvidia, everything is riding on their earnings reports. What if they stumble? And that brought me to another article by MarketWatch that stated why the once invincible Nvidia cannot save the AI trade. As they pointed out in this article, that investors are now digging more closely into Nvidia's earnings. As they even pointed out, the upbeat results from the world's largest company weren't enough to flip sentiment. Sentiment in the AI arena is starting to change, is starting to shift, because there's a lot of concerns happening in that arena about the financing, the infrastructure requirement build, the lack of power to fund all these data centers. Where's it going to come from? How long will it take to build? There's a lot of circular financing going on where different companies are buying, they're making agreements and then the money's going back to the other company. And it's like, it looks like something's happening, but really one company's just funding the other. That's not promising. The level of debt that many of these companies are now starting to take on to do this infrastructure build is increasing. Debt is not a good thing when you're referring to future profits. It's going to eat into those. And everything is, in terms of the AI arena, is really priced to perfection, ridiculous perfection. These companies are going to have to produce stupendous profits in the next few years to justify the valuations that we're looking at. I mean, stuff that's never been done before, really. So more and more people are looking at this, more and more investors, and it's giving them pause, and it should. Prices cannot just continue to just go up forever. That is completely unrealistic. Now, we've gone way past, in my opinion, what would be considered any type of logic or fundamentals, any measuring stick, because we're at all-time highs. We've broken through just about any measuring stick you want to use. So we're in uncharted waters. The valuations of the market are at levels never seen before. That includes 1929 and 1999. So it's primarily based on emotion. And why you always hear the ability to pick the tops and the bottoms of a market is, basically impossible, is because when you get into extreme levels, you're just dealing with human emotion. You're not dealing with fundamentals or facts or numbers. And emotions are notoriously difficult to track or predict. I mean, when is the sentiment going to shift from greed or fear of missing out, which is what we've been experiencing in the last couple of years, certainly? When is it going to shift to the predominant sentiment is pure fear? Because that's when you see the prices drop, and sometimes drop quite aggressively. When is that shift going to occur in the majority of human hearts and minds? No one really knows. But will it occur? Of course it will. Human emotion doesn't change, and you can track this and see this throughout history of different cycles, of boom and bust cycles that we have seen, whether you're talking about the Great Recession, the dot-com, or even the Great Depression. Heck, you can go all the way back to the tulip mania back in the 1500s, where some tulip bulbs cost more than a house at the time. So there's a lot of reasons behind it, but again, it really comes down to emotion and understanding human emotions, which are notoriously unpredictable. So I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned in the next segment. Don't miss it.
Stay tuned for more common sense from Ferenc. For more information, contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422.
I'm Ferenc Toth, host of the Your Personal Bank Show. This is the golden era of fixed assets. Annuities and guaranteed lifetime income are paying the best rates in over 40 years. If you looked at annuities over 2 years ago, the numbers have increased significantly. If you own an annuity over 2 years old, the new products can not only pay your penalty to switch, but are often guaranteed to outperform your current product. For more info, contact me at yourpersonalbank.com or 866-268-4422. That's yourpersonalbank.com. Concerned about market risk? I'm Ferenc, host of the Your Personal Bank Show. Diversification is one of the best ways to offset risk. Your personal bank is not affected by the stock or real estate markets. It is an uncorrelated asset that provides true diversification. For more info, tune in to the Your Personal Bank Show or contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc Toth. Want more information? Contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Now back to the show with Ferenc Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. This is Ferenc. If you want to reach me, you can do so at yourpersonalbank.com. Yes, you will reach me. It's yourpersonalbank.com. As I stated before, there's a number of clients that I have that work in the tech industry. I mean, I have clients literally from every walk of life, coast to coast. I've been hearing some of this stuff from my clients, but I saw this article I thought was quite fascinating that kind of backs up what many of my clients have been telling me that work in the tech industry. And it points out how a lot of AI workers are now telling their friends and families to stay away from AI. And the reasons behind it are quite interesting. The people that are in the field who are working to make AI seem trustworthy appear to be the ones that actually trust it the least. Part of the reason behind that is the incentives for speed are overtaking safety. This article even points out, referring to an AI worker who's been developing AI since 2010, and has witnessed years of the inner workings of AI models, has decided to no longer use generative AI products personally and tells her friends and family to stay clear of them. As she puts it, it's an absolute no in my house. She encourages people to ask AI about something in an area that they're very knowledgeable so they can spot its errors and understand for themselves how fallible the tech really is. And the reason she points out this is because sometimes it can really hurt people. As they point out, questions of health in particular give her pause because AI can often generate responses that seem to be authoritative, but in some cases are totally wrong. She points out that she's forbidden her kids from using chatbots because the kids need to learn critical thinking skills first or won't be able to tell if the output is any good. It's the old adage, garbage in, garbage out. And it also does not bode well for a public that is increasingly going to AI for news and information, because many of the models are working on have a consistent emphasis on rapid turnaround time at the expense of quality. Many of these AI workers point out, I wouldn't trust any facts the bot offers up without checking them myself because it's just not reliable. Oftentimes, the AI is dispensing false information in a confident tone rather than offering no answer when none is readily available. And this is one of the major flaws of generative AI. I've run into this myself personally. Your Personal Bank and index products have a lot of, many call, lack of information or misinformation out there. I've even had some people try to pull it up on AI. And this is an area that I have a high degree of knowledge and expertise, 26 years, and the information is just oftentimes just dead wrong. A personal point of view, it's incredibly frustrating when somebody's listening to this chatbot that's just dispensing inaccurate information or just repeating what it's pulled up from the internet, which is really just coming from people, right? Yet I know for a fact that is totally inaccurate. A recent media literacy nonprofit, NewsGuard, did a study and revealed that the non-response rates of chatbots went down from 31% in August of 24 to 0% in August of 25. Yet, the likelihood of chatbots repeating false information nearly doubled from 18 to 35%. So about a third of the time that these generative AIs, regardless of which one it was, about a third of their information is just totally inaccurate or false, instead of just, if it doesn't know, not saying anything. That's concerning. And some people point out, some of these experts state that it's not an ethical robot, it's just a robot. And the common joke in the industry, and I've heard this, we joke that if chatbots would be great if they would just get them to stop lying. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all works out in time. As I've often stated before, I believe AI will have an impact on the economy and in the future. But there's a lot of challenges in implementing infrastructure. We discussed the lack of infrastructure, lack of energy to power the infrastructure. These are all going to be delaying, challenging things that will have to be overcome before it really becomes a viable technology that's going to really make a difference, in my opinion. And I guess the last thing I need to share today is in the last couple of shows, I took a pretty firm stance in terms of the economic impact we've had of immigration in this country over the last several decades, both legal and illegal. I've gotten some feedback, mostly positive, some negative, from people who felt like I was, one pointed out, showing my bias, although I'm a first-generation American myself, at least on my dad's side. Maybe I was a little bit ahead of the curve, but I think the economic reasons are significant, and just to sweep under the rug and ignore, I think is foolish. But I'm not the only one thinking this way now. Turns out the U.S. State Department has put out an announcement that mass migration poses an existential threat to Western civilization. This is an official U.S. State Department memo. And the HUD Secretary, Scott Turner, now has stated mass deportations would have an immediate positive impact on the housing crisis facing Americans. He pointed out that 59% of criminal alien families are on welfare programs. Criminal alien welfare costs the country up to $42 billion per year, and thousands are living in government-funded housing, which stifles housing supply. So this is the official statements from the HUD Secretary. And recently, the Somalians in Minnesota have received a lot of attention through some of their fraudulent schemes. One of them that's particularly egregious is diagnosing their children with autism so they can systematically steal billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars through Medicaid and funnel it back to Somalia. This is official court testimony, and nearly 80 people have been convicted of this fraud. It turns out in 2018, Medicaid autism claims in Minnesota accounted for $3 million. In 2023, it increased to $399 million. The U.S. Attorney's Office stated that the autism fraud scheme extended to a wide network of people. They paid monthly kickback payments to the parents of children who are diagnosed and enrolled with autism. The kickback payments range from $300 to $1,500 per month per child. This was to the parents for fraudulently diagnosing or allowing their kids to be fraudulently diagnosed with autism. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, by the time the fraud scheme was exposed, 1 in 16 Somali 4-year-olds in the state of Minnesota had reportedly been diagnosed with autism, which was a rate that was triple the national average. And it turns out much of this money that has been stolen from Medicaid was funneled back to some Somali terrorism organizations. Look, this type of fraud and stuff should not be in our country. Somalis have been in the United States under a temporary protected status since 1991. Now, temporary asylum was supposed to mean that if you went back to your country, you would get killed. But today, many asylum seekers go on vacation to the country that they're seeking asylum from. That just doesn't make any sense. That's just fraud. And Americans, we have no obligation to allow entry to foreign nationals for any reason. There's no legal or moral imperative to import unlimited poverty, failure, corruption, graft, crime, or violence. We have the opportunity to select for the best. And the rest, they can just stay home. And why this is so significant? Do you know that only 41% of 2024 graduates have found entry-level jobs in their fields, according to Forbes. If only 40% of our graduates from last year can find work in their field, some people point out that, these are frivolous degrees. Well, turns out chemistry majors are 40% underemployed. Physics majors are 35% unemployed. I don't think anybody would consider those as frivolous majors. And why is this the case? According to ICE, the U.S. has over 500,000 foreign workers on OPT and 140,000 on CPT work visa status. 40% of our chemistry majors can't get jobs in their fields. Why are we bringing in hundreds of thousands of foreign workers? That makes no logical sense. These are things that need to be changed and changed rapidly, and I hope that happens, because it's not right or fair to our U.S. citizens, our young people, taking opportunity away from them. I'm thankful the State Department and HUD Secretary and others are starting to bring this up, to keep pushing this issue until it gets resolved and our government stops allowing so many foreign work visas to come in when our citizens are struggling to find jobs, especially our young people, our young graduates. Stay tuned next week to the Your Personal Bank Show for more great information. And as long as it's on our money, in God we trust.
When people contact me, they often ask, what exactly do you do? And yes, if you contact me, I, Ferenc, host of the Your Personal Bank Show, will respond, not an assistant. I help people increase their returns, reduce taxes, increase positive cash flow, and reduce market risk. I accomplish your goals using various financial tools, including your personal bank. If you have questions or would like to discuss your situation, contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com.
Contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. This show is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information. The presenter and guests of this program do not engage in legal, accounting, or tax advice. Professional advice regarding your situation should be sought if required. Some products discussed may have limitations and not be available in all states. Excessive unpaid loans may affect performance.
This is Ferenc, host of the Your Personal Bank Show. My show focuses on creating tax-free buckets of money, insured, guaranteed, highly liquid, and the ability to create positive arbitrage. Did you know this is the best time in over 40 years to invest in index annuities? An index annuity allows you to 1. Grow your money safely without market risk. Once gains are locked in, they're guaranteed against future market loss. 2. Double-digit potential upside on good market years with no losses in bad years. Principal is guaranteed. 3. A 7 to 8% fixed interest option is available in the first year. If you're interested in growing your money with potential index-related gains without downside market risk, this is the best time in over 40 years to consider an annuity. If your annuity is over 2 years old, the newer products likely have far superior potential returns. Please contact me at yourpersonalbank.com or 866-268-4422 for more info. That's yourpersonalbank.com.
Concerned about market risk? I'm Ferenc Toth, host of the Your Personal Bank Show. The S&P 500 valuations are higher than at any time ever recorded in stock market history. This includes 1929 and 1999. We all know what happened afterwards. It wasn't pretty. Elevated valuations increase risk to the downside. Annuities and Your Personal Bank offer unlimited upside with no downside market risk. Your principal is guaranteed. Contact Ferenc at yourpersonalbank.com to maximize returns, reduce market risk, increase liquidity, and reduce taxes.